So we got an exciting day today. We're going to be diving into the concept of the general adaptation theory, talking about stress, talking about adaptive energy and currency. But before we get started, I just want to say thank you to all of our subscribers. Thank you for sharing this page, helping it grow. It means a ton. It allows me to invest more time in this page and continue to give you some fun insights and bits of information. So feel free to like the video, share it, subscribe, and follow along. Let's go check out the video, and as always, thank you. So today we're diving into a topic called adaptive energy, or you can also use adaptive currency. I kind of like the term currency because it's a little easier to understand. The term and idea of adaptive energy kind of is this undefined term that can be a little confusing. So I'm going to use them interchangeably, but I also personally like to use the term currency. So the idea of this adaptive energy and currency kind of stemmed from the pioneering work of Hans Selye, where he looked at what's called now the general adaptation syndrome, massively influential for both basically anything in the human body, whether it's sports performance or whether it's medical aspects. It was essentially a means to understand the innate process, your body, its response to a stressor, whether it's exercise, whether it's metabolic, whether it's chemical, whether it's psychological, and the internal processes that take place and what happens basically when that stressor is there so long. So basically looking at the body's ability, its energy, or its currency in that case, to defend itself against a stressor. So the reason why I like to use the term currency is because when we think about your body's adaptive currency, like a bankroll, it only has so much money to fund the endeavors it wants to do. So if you're going to study really hard and you're going to go out maybe and party and stay out late, and then you're going to train really hard, all of those cost money, or adaptive energy in this case, or currency, to accomplish. And then you can refill your bankroll by doing things like sleeping and nutrition and making sure you recover properly. So the idea of currency lets us go into some fund allocation, giving it out, and also fund accumulation, getting money. But on top of that, I also like the term currency because we can kind of go into debt, essentially. Because if we just keep going out and partying, eventually you'll have to pay that debt back in terms of, well, maybe sleeping more, having to have more time off from your training, whatever it might be. But the really important aspect of this concept is that it is a universal thread regardless of the type of stressor. So my stress that I encounter from psychological stress of school and having to study really hard actually affects my training response. It's not like your body has different adaptive reserves or a monetary fund to spend on training and another one to spend on your studying and another one to spend with the psychological stress of society itself. No, it has one reserve in which it has to distribute these funds. And so when we start to spend money in one area, we can't spend as much money in another area, hence the term adaptive currency and reason why I like it. But on top of that, what's really important from this is that this underlying thread holds true across different domains, and it helps explain why or why not we might see certain types of gains or lack of gains take place, and also how we can optimize our gains, right? So if we want to make more progress in the training world and we're not sleeping enough and we're not eating properly and staying hydrated and we have lots of psychological stress that's going on, well, that's going to reduce our potential to make more adaptation. So it's going to make the workout itself essentially less effective simply because you're spending time doing other things. Your body's having to cope with other stressors. So that's one reason why it's really important. The second reason why it's really important is because it unifies, in theory, the body as this not an isolated thing that has to encounter one entity at a time, that is psychological stress or schooling or lack of sleep or training. But it's your body is your body. It is one entity that has to deal with it all. So it helps interconnect these different areas of life and training as a whole. And because of that, it makes this concept very important to understand. Again, you can look at different studies. There's different studies that look at people who've had high levels of psychological stress in their relationship and the ability to heal from a wound. They actually do these studies where they make a blister on you and they see how fast you heal. And it looks like people who are under more psychological stress heal slower. Well, there's also another one that looks at people's adaptation to training. And when you're psychologically stressed, the higher stress group actually had less gains from the single training event and took longer time to recover. There's numerous studies that look at the effects of lack of sleep and how that influences many different areas of both adaptation and general performance. And on the other side of that, how training really hard itself could potentially impact these other areas. So this is a hugely important topic, and it's something that requires much more of a discussion than what the 6 minutes I'm going to give you here today. But I wanted to at least provide a framework and a backbone as to what this concept is and why it is so extremely important and why you need to consider it when thinking about training. You can't just think about it in isolation. Think about this as not an individual silos, but everything under one roof in which we have to deal with it. So I appreciate you guys listening. I hope you enjoy. If you have comments or questions, please let me know. As always, thank you so much. Feel free to share the page, give it a thumbs up. It really helps this page grow. We're getting some momentum going forward. And again, always, thank you a ton.